You mentioned when you first started working on The Price is Right that you wanted to know everything there was to know about the show. Now, I too love to know everything there is to know about specific game shows. And over the years, I've piled up a number of curiosities related to The Price is Right because of questions I've never been able to find the answers to. So I have a segment on the game show that I do from time to time with my guests. And Roger, since you're my guest today, I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to relieve some of my curiosities I've had about The Price is Right. It's time for Clarke's Curiosities. Clarke's Curiosities. So my first curiosity is, I know you've created a number of pricing games over the years, I believe 18 to be exact. However, I'm not quite sure of all of the pricing games that have created by Roger Dobkowitz attached to it. So what pricing games did come out of your creative mind?
Oh, I did 10 Chances, Pocket Change, Squeeze Play, the New Balance game. Oh, I did some that were retired, like Split Decision, which is one of my favorites, and Fortune Hunter. I did, we'll pick a number, it's not much of a game. Clearance Sale. Oh, I wish I had a list in front of me. I wish I knew you were going to ask that question. I would have grabbed my list and told you all of them. But those are all the only ones I can think about right now. But you're right, I did do about 18 games on the show.
Split Decision is one of my favorites that have sadly been retired. I always love the games that, put the pressure on contestants with a clock, and especially that game where you're pulling down the numbers and all that. I think that was one of my favorite retired pricing games.
Right. It was just a bad set design that killed the game, so we didn't have the money to fix it, so we just retired it.
And another game that you created, the last one you did was called Gas Money. I'm sure you remember Gas Money.
Oh, Gas Money, that would have been a good game, but they changed it. I was very disappointed. It debuted after I left. Of course, they had the right to change it, and they changed it.
Right. Well, I have a treat for you. We're going to play the game of the day later, and we're actually going to play Gas Money, and we're going to play the version that you created. I formatted it for the rules that you created.
Oh, God bless you, Bradley. Thank you. I mean, the original rules of the game before they decided to wimp out and make it something else. Yes. Oh, very good. Very good. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, I look forward to playing, and I hope you do as well. And
certainly.
My next curiosity is, so many times host Bob Barker would check in with you to clarify about any possible historic moment that may be occurring when the game was being played. And he'd ask you, has this ever happened before? And he'll say, Roger, how many times has this happened before? Is this the first time?
Now, let them roll. All five. Here they come. How many cars do we... Look at that. Look at that. 5 cars in one row. Is this an historic moment? That, ladies and gentlemen, I have just checked with our beloved producer, Roger Dobkowitz, and he agrees this is the first time a contestant ever rolled all 5 cars in one row. Come on down. You own that car sitting right over there. Congratulations.
So when Bob would ask you about these historic moments, did you actually know the answers to these questions, or were you just guessing?
Sometimes I knew the right answer. Sometimes I gave him the right answer. Sometimes I knew the right answer, but I did not give him the right answer because I knew that was not what he was looking for. In other words, what happened one time, and this is when I realized I had to, make up numbers, we were playing 5 price tags, and the contestant lost on every single small item. Now, I did keep statistics at that moment, and it did happen 10 times before. He just did not remember that. So it happened, and he shouted out to me, he said, Roger, is that the first time that's happened? And I shouted over, no, Bob, it happened about 10 times. And he got, no. Oh, no, Roger, you're wrong. And he got all upset by my response. And I learned at that moment that I had to play the game, too. If he was looking for something that he needed to make a big deal about, I had to give him that. I had to sort of agree with him, usually. And there were a few times I strongly disagreed, but usually I learned at that moment I had to sometimes fudge my statistics. So I have to admit it. I did not tell the truth all the time.
Well, that's all right, but at least we know that you did know the answers.
Yes, I did. I did keep statistics. I really did. I was kind of a nerd that way when I first started the show. I thought, I'm going to keep these facts here. And I had a big yellow notepad, and I was jotting down stuff and how many times a game was played and how many times a game was won and how much was won. And I kept all that. I was a real Price is Right nerd.
See, I'm a Price is Right nerd, too, and, I miss that interaction between Bob and you on the show where you would go through historical significance, because as a super fan myself, I would also, too, make sure when something happened, I'd be like, that's never happened before, or that's only happened once, or remember that time when that happened before, and I would do that in my head as well, and whoever I was watching with, either my parents or friends, they'd look at me crazy how I know all this stuff, and I'd get so excited by these historic moments, but I just love that interaction that you and Bob had.
Oh, that's good. Nice to hear that. Thank you.
So my final curiosity is, this is one that I've been wanting to know the answer to for years and years. I think out of all the curiosities I have of The Price is Right, this is the one that I've always wanted to know the answer to.
I'm very interested to hear what that is. Go ahead, Brad.
Why during the Showcase Showdown bonus spin is the big wheel reset to the 5 green space and not the dollar?
Well, that's because, if you set it to the dollar... Oh, yes, of course. See, some of these things I almost forgot. Because the wheel has to get around once, right? Has to get around once for it to count. If you set it to the dollar, you don't have a chance then on a puny spin to win $5,000 on both green spots.
Oh.
So you started out on the 5. So if you do a puny spin... and it makes it back to the 5, you get the chance of winning $5,000. So that's why we did that.
You know what? That's so smart. I never realized that.
Yeah, that's why. There's usually a reason why we did everything. Some of the things are very subtle game reasons. And today, fortunately, in game show business, with the lack of not having a Mark Goodson or these other great game show producers out there, they don't get it. They just make up these games and they just don't quite get what they should be doing. And, there's usually a reason why we did everything. Mark Goodson was a very brilliant man. Bob was very smart, and I picked up a lot of stuff along the way.
Well, one of my goals, as I said before, is to be a game show producer, and I hope to bring back the style that Mark Goodson revolutionized for years, the 70s and 80s styles of game shows. Unfortunately, knowing how television is running now, that's not going to be an easy task, but I hope that one day, at least one of my shows that I hope to ultimately produce gets that feeling of nostalgia game shows in the present day once again.
Right. Very good. I hope you do, Bradley. The biggest thing missing from game shows today, and this is inexperience with game show producers, is that if you look at all the game shows that are successful versus all the game shows that fail, you have the successful game shows, which are the old school game shows. You have the Wheel of Fortune, you have the Price is Right, you have Max Game, even Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. All of those successful game shows, people at home can play along. Then you look on the other side of all these game shows they're creating on the networks now, that's terrible, Candy Crush and those other game shows. If you look at them, they all fail. Why do they all fail? Because people at home were unable to play along. And this is the essence of a successful game show. People at home have to have the ability to play along. Otherwise, it's just a mess, like Candy Crush. I will declare right now, Candy Crush was the worst game show ever put on network television. It was horrible.
You heard it right here. Roger Dobkowitz said it. You heard it right here. Let's put that in the record books.
Did you see Candy Crush?
I did.
There was no way anybody at home could play along. There was absolutely no way. It was just a mess to watch. It was a silly, overproduced show, and it was being produced by some cocky people who thought, we know how to do a game show. No, they didn't. They didn't know how to do it at all, and it failed miserably.
I have to agree with you, and I think there was a flaw in the format as well. See, with that show, I don't want to prolong this too much, but when I thought of what Candy Crush was going to be is that, in the actual mobile app, there are levels, and the point of the game is to go through the levels. So I thought it was going to be just one couple trying to get through the levels. It still would lack the availability of the audience can play unless they had, like when Millionaire used to have, where you can play along with the contestants. They could have done that with the same levels that the contestants were playing along with. But I thought there was going to be levels involved. I think that's what was one of the flaws of the game, is that it wasn't really like the actual mobile app.
Yeah, see, you're onto something there. Yes, exactly. They decided to do something different, though. Yep.
See, this is why I love doing the game shows. I love talking with people like you and learning stuff along the way and hearing your insight of the business, having been through it so many years.
Well, thank you. It's nice to hear that. Thank you.
So thanks for answering my Clarke's Curiosities. Clarke's Curiosities.